Hi guys, welcome back to Running a Freelance Design Business. This is lesson 12, managing your money. In this lesson, we're going to look over some specifics to do with managing your money. We're going to help you decide on a company structure, and we're going to also help with some just general financial topics. Now, before we start this lesson, it's worth saying that when we're talking about tax and all these kind of financial issues, it's best to get the best advice possible. So you should seek out professional or a tax professional's advice within your area so you can get the best possible advice for your situation and for your country. And that is an absolute must. You really should be budgeting from the start to be seeing a tax professional in your country who will help you with all this kind of information specific to wherever you are going to be working from. First off, we're going to look at your company structure and accounts, and we're going to help you decide on those. So keeping things separate is going to really help your tax professional at the end of the year be able to work out all the kind of different stats, figures, and it's going to be separate from your personal money and finances. So that's going to be something you want to do. You want to keep everything separate. Now, it's very tempting to just simply start a bank account, keep it all in one place, keep your company money coming in, take your personal money out, and that seems so easy. However, at the end of the year, when it gets to your accountant, it really isn't. It's very difficult for them to look back at the end of the year and decide which transactions were which, and so they're going to have to get in touch with you and check each individual transaction, and that's just going to be a real pain. So keep it separate. Start a company account up, start a separate bank account if you're going to be more of a personal freelancer, and so you can then make sure at the end of the year when you give your accountant all your statements, they are for your company, and they can just very quickly calculate the tax that you have to pay. What you need to do is set up a separate company account, get your bookkeeper, perhaps send them the monthly invoices so they can keep everything put everything into order, keep the running totals going, and then at the end of the year send that off to to your accountant or to the tax professional you've chosen. You can do your own books. You could just literally create an Excel spreadsheet and write down all of your expenses, all of your income, and you can just have running totals of that, and then you can forward that onto your tax professional. Now, for certain company structures, you may have to just set up a business bank account. That might be unavoidable. However, if you don't have to do, then choose whether that's going to be worth it for you, because some of them might have better or worse interest rates. They might have different banking support. They might come with other benefits, or they might come with fees and certain fees on even each individual transaction. So make sure you research into the terms of a company account. Make sure that all of the kind of terms and specifications meet your business needs and you're happy with them. Make sure you're not having to put in a certain amount of funds per month, and if you do, make sure you can do, and have a look, make sure there's no sort of initial lump sum deposit required or anything like that. Now, when you are discussing with your tax professional all this kind of information, make sure you look into becoming, whether it's worthwhile you becoming a paid employee of your own company, or in other words, you pay yourself a wage as part of your business. Now, it sounds quite random, it sounds quite crazy, because surely all your earnings are your income, aren't they? Well, not so. If you set up a company and become an employee of it, you then negate the need to save for things like taxes, expenses, and possibly unforeseen bills, because you're essentially just getting a cut of your income as a wage, and the rest of the money is going into the business, and it's also incorporating things like tax, and you're saving up for that and getting a wage that you can spend then on your sort of personal expenses. It sounds a little bit complicated, but it really isn't, and it really does make your tax more efficient. It makes calculating it all very simple, because it means that you're just putting away money aside for your taxes, for unforeseen expenses, and you're covering yourself for future needs. Amber Turner on Freelance Switch has come up with a very good method that splits each paycheck, so you get a wage or a paid wage as well as savings for your taxes, so everything is calculated. It does need an additional bank account, which isn't too much of a problem. Consider checking over this with your tax professional, see if it's going to work for you. But let's have a look at this template she's provided, as well as the article. We'll just briefly review it. It's on freelanceswitch.com/money/paycheck-template. Alright then guys, this is the page you want to go to. It's freelanceswitch.com/money/paycheck template. And on this page you will find all the information about how you can set this up and why you want to set this up, how you can set up a regular paycheck fund. However, there is at the top of the page, there is a downloadable paycheck template. So go ahead and download that. It's an Excel spreadsheet, so it'll open up in either Excel or Numbers, and you can then go ahead and use that to be able to start splitting the checks up. So you know that if you get $50 off a client, you then need to split it in so many or X amount of values, so that you've got your tax paid for, so you've got your own personal wage sorted, and you've got any other business expenses and things like that sorted. So let's go and just look over the template briefly. This is the splitting check section. Let's say we put in client here, we'll just do as own sample client, and obviously the figures here that we're using are hypothetical. Let's say you get $15,000 from this client. You need to take $3,750 are taxes. The remainder is $11,250. And then your commission, which is going to be your wage from that, is the $7,875. And then out of your personal commission for your backup or emergency fund would be $1,181. So you can see it's deadly simple, works very well. You've also got minimal or monthly and weekly totals. You've got a regular review of what clients are getting, and if you have, for example, too much personal commission or not enough. So that's a very interesting template to use. Make sure you read through the article. It really does sell the whole thing of getting a paycheck for yourself set up, and it really does sound like a good idea. So we've looked over that, and the method that I've personally chosen, which has been recommended to me by my accountant, was to set up a limited company which have different tax rates, different sort of levels of insurance, national insurance and things like that, to if I was just being a self-employed sole trader, which is the simplest form of employment in England. Now the benefits of this are multiple. I'm an employee on national minimum wage, so I pay a lot less personal taxes, and my estimated tax bill was literally halved by going down this route. It cost $100, or the equivalent of $100 to set up the limited company, and the accountant costs around $800 a year. However, what the accountant does is he sends me a paycheck every month. He will sort out all the taxes, he fills out all the tax returns. I literally only have to just fill out my books, send them off to my accountant, and he does the rest. So that's brilliant. It's saving me a lot of time, and it's just hands off. It's just me being able to concentrate on running my business. And doing this has meant that my own personal taxes are non-existent. My company taxes were literally halved from around $30,000 to $16,000 just by going down this route. So I spent $900 to save around $16,000. So it's well worth doing. It really has been beneficial. It's a huge, huge saving. So you can see the benefits of that. I just get a wage that I can use on my own personal expenses, personal bills, meals out, day-to-day things. And if I ever go over, I can simply give myself a bonus or similar from the company. It's a strange setup, but it's totally legal, and it makes a massive money saving. So perhaps you could consider either splitting your checks up, like Amber Turner says, to give yourself a wage, to account for taxes, savings for your business, or you could perhaps consider setting up a company and becoming an employee of that company. So that's company structures. You should definitely go ahead and speak to a tax professional or an accountant to get the best possible advice for your situation. Explain what you're wanting to do and explain how you plan to run your business and see what they suggest. Another thing you want to think about are credit cards. Now, we're going to mention in a moment why you probably don't want to get a credit card, but sometimes you do need that little bit of extra protection when making a business purchase, or you need, in effect, a short-term loan. Oftentimes, credit cards are very good sources for getting that finance when you need it. With varying overall limits, purchasing through a credit card gives you the support and protection of the supplier's fraud department, but it also allows you to spend money ahead of time, i.e. a short-term loan, and that just means that your business is building up a credit rating, a positive credit rating, so make sure you're always paying it off, and it gives you some good history behind your business, and also it gives you that spending power. Always make sure you pay it off at the end of the month so you keep your business credit rating positive and not start getting negative credit ratings. We've talked about savings and why they're important, but the savings you've set aside for emergency needs should be kept only for that. Don't be using them day-to-day purchases. Some banks actually allow you to receive alerts if you're going below a set amount or a certain level. Set that up if you can do. So set it near to your emergency fund, and that will help make sure you don't ever overspend over the emergency fund amount. Don't be using it to buy a classic sports car or a new iMac or anything like that unless you absolutely need to do and you have the ability to replace the funds, because you just don't know when they're going to be needed. Things are unforeseen in the future, and so having that little bit of cash set aside could really help your business through a rough patch. If anything went wrong with the project, that sort of thing is incredibly important. Speaking of savings, make sure you consider things like pension schemes, life and health insurance. What happens if you break all of your fingers and you can't use a computer? How can you actually work? Well, you can purchase insurance specifically designed for self-employed people. So consider that. Have a look over the options there are. Think about what you are likely receiving now if you're employed, what you're receiving now, and then try to set up your own schemes to replace those. So pensions and things like that. Set up a pension scheme. Perhaps in your rate you could include an amount that you're going to set aside for your pension. We're going to discuss savings in more detail further on in this course. Payment methods, you want to think about what payment methods you're going to accept. You're going to do PayPal, bank transfer, checks, cash. They all have different benefits and cons, but we'll briefly discuss some of them. PayPal's very easy because PayPal allows you to get instant payment. It means that you don't have to have a PayPal account, so clients can use credit cards and they can send you money that way. It also is a little bit annoying when they take a cut or a commission from the amount you send, but it's generally quite small unless you're dealing entirely with PayPal. So it's a very convenient way to get paid. Bank transfer, now this might take a few hours or be completely instant depending on where you are, and I think usually that doesn't have a fee applied to it, so that's a great way of being paid. That's the way that most people are favouring nowadays, purely because checks are getting phased out in many countries. Speaking of which, checks, if you can, avoid them. They're annoying, they can bounce. Sometimes you have to chase clients up to actually send out the check. So try and avoid checks where possible. You might want to use cash. If you're going to get paid in cash, make sure that you are making notes of everything you've received. Make sure you're not receiving any amounts that are uncredited or unrecorded. Otherwise, you can get into big trouble with IRS, with the H&M customs, that sort of thing. So make sure you are not going to be losing cash or losing the paper trail for any cash. Also, there's some iPhone apps that you can use to get paid by credit and debit cards. You can accept credit and debit via terminals. That's quite convenient. A lot of people have these nowadays, so if you look into the fees and things, you can see whether it's going to be worthwhile for your business. Now, one thing you want to consider if you're in the US is taxation. Generally, the tax system in the United States is based on a system of paying your taxes as you earn your money. If you have a job, your taxes will be withheld as you earn it. It's all calculated for you. It's not a problem. However, if you're self-employed, you may not have to pay taxes. You don't know how much you're going to earn, and it also means that you may have to pay income taxes and self-employment taxes as you start to get paid for your work. So you need some sort of system to estimate your taxes, and the US government will actually initiate that every quarter. You will make the payments to them, but you need to know how much it's going to be. They're not actually filling out your tax return. You still need to fill out a tax return, but the amounts are taken off you every 3 or 4 months, and that means that then your taxes have been paid when you do fill out the form. However, not everyone has to pay quarterly, so you need to make sure which bracket you're going to fit into. Generally, if you owe less than $1,000 on your taxes, or if you didn't earn any money the year before, you won't have to. However, how are you going to calculate the amounts you need to do? Well, speak with a tax professional or an accountant, and they will help you be able to decide how much you should be setting aside for these, where you should be putting them, whether you should set a separate bank account up for them, how that's going to work. That's going to be tremendously helpful when you need to start paying the quarterlies, because it can be very tough to figure out the actual amount, and if you don't get it right, it could be a total disaster. So for your first year, absolutely talk to a tax professional, and they will help you estimate the amount you need to set for, and also they'll help you plan for the tax burden. Don't forget to set aside money for this every time you get paid. Know how much you need to set aside, so you're not going to get hit with a massive $30,000, $50,000 bill. That is going to be crucial. Now, there's a great article on freelancetaxation.com/estimated-taxes-for-freelancers. That will help you calculate it. There's some great further reading as well on Freelance Switch. This article here, Know What You Can Claim Back, that's got great suggestions for deductions freelancers can actually claim back from the government, claim against their own taxes. And this one here, Help on Saving for Taxes, gives you an idea of how you can roughly estimate, and also how you can save up for your taxes. Again, very useful information. And then also these two articles, Saving Money, or All to Do with Saving Money. This one here is talking about how you can save money away just in general, what things you can claim back from your tax. And this one again is another general financial tip article. So make sure you check those over, have a read through them. They're going to be very, very crucial just to helping you manage your money and helping you save for your taxes in general. So in this lesson, we have looked at finances. We've considered all the different elements of what you need to do for saving for taxes, how you can calculate taxes, what kind of taxes you may have to pay in certain countries. We've thought about credit cards. We've looked at how you can set up different payment methods for your clients. And there's a lot of general information that's available on Freelance Switch. So your task for the lesson is to go ahead and read these three articles, depending on where you're located. This one here is talking about the business of freelancing and how you can avoid IRS audits. Great article for American freelancers. And then this one here, freelancetaxation.com/deductions-designers, has got lots of information about what you can actually claim back on your taxes. And then this final one here has got some last minute tax tips. So check those three articles out. That's your task for the lesson, to read through those and know what your taxes will be, to calculate what you're going to have to save every month, and just know a little bit more about your finances. Don't be in the dark about your business finances. Next time on Running a Freelance Design Business, we'll be looking at calculating your rates. Thanks for watching.